All right. So here we are today, self-made millionaire tips. I'm Colin Plume. Lucky to have a very established and interesting entrepreneur named Brian Clayton. His current company is Green Pal, and we're going to dive into that. Before, I just want to do a shout out to our sponsor, which is Guardian HR. If you're a small business owner or growing your business and you need help with HR, everybody does. The rules are changing. You need a handbook. Check out Guardian HR. They will help you navigate it. They've been doing it for 20 years. So if you need help, any HR assistance, go check out Guardian HR. So Brian, thanks for coming on. Excited to have you on. I did a little digging, checked out your website and checked out the company, and we can dive into that. But tell me first. I mean, you have obviously a very unique story. You sold a business, your first business, when you were 32, 33. How did that happen? Did you think that was that when you were, let me ask this question. When you were, 12, 13, 15 years old, did you ever have a vision that you would be able to have such quick success? Were you successful at other things? How did it all sort of go down?
Yeah, I never knew what would happen ultimately when my dad made me go mow the neighbor's yard one day. I think he got tired of watching me play Super Mario Kart. He said, "Hey, get off your butt." I talked to the neighbor. He needs somebody to cut his grass, and you're gonna go mow his yard. And I said, I don't mow grass. He goes, "Well, you do now." And my dad was a military guy, so this was a direct order. This was not a request. And
You had to go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
He
didn't want to know
dragged.
what's going to happen.
That's right. And luckily he did, because he dragged me next door and I mowed the neighbor's grass, and then he pointed out all the areas I missed and made me go fix them, and then I got paid like $20 for an hour worth of work. And in 1995, that was a lot of money. And
Oh yeah.
after that, I was hooked. I was like, man, this is where it's at. I can just go get a bunch of these and just make a bunch of money, and I don't have to like beg my folks for money anymore. I remember I was like pissed off because I wanted a pair of soccer cleats, and they would only buy me like the $30 soccer cleats, and I wanted the $150 ones. And so I remember I was motivated by that, to go get some more of these yards to mow so I could buy a decent pair of soccer cleats. So the first thing I did after I got paid is I made some flyers and passed them all over the neighborhood, and I got 10 customers, like just like that. And before I knew it, I was making 500-600 bucks a week mowing grass
Wow.
as a teenager in the mid 90s. Yeah, it was awesome. And so I just stuck with that. And I didn't have a plan to like be a lawn guy, but I just stuck with that all through high school, all through college. Went to college for business school, graduated, and I graduated college. I was like, well, am I going to stick with this lawn care business I've got? At that point, I had maybe two or three helpers, and I didn't, again, like I wasn't drawn towards the lawn business. It wasn't glamorous to me at all. And matter of fact, I hated the smell of freshly mowed yards. But I thought, oh, hey man, maybe this is my lane. Maybe, because if I,
Yeah.
if I stop if I stop doing this and go take a job, I'm going to take a pay cut. So
Right.
I thought maybe this is my lane. And luckily I was in Nashville, Tennessee, which was booming, just growing, like new neighborhoods, new apartments, new office complexes. And so all of this new development needed services for landscaping. And so I saw the opportunity. I thought maybe I could build a big business doing this, and made a little business plan with what little I learned in business school. And over a 15-year period of time, I built that into like a real company, 150 employees, eventually around $10 million a year in revenue. And then in 2013, a national company in the landscaping business bought it.
Hmm.
And so after that, I took a bunch of time off and
Were you
got bored. Go
were
ahead.
you pursuing an exit, or did it come, or how did that come about?
They say that great businesses are bought, not sold. Mine was definitely sold. I reached I guess a plateau year 12 or 13 from a personal evolution standpoint. One of the things, if you're pouring your passion and soul into a business, you evolve as a whole new person every 2 or 3 years. Like, you look back a year or two and you are a totally new person. And maybe you'll read a book or watch a movie that you saw 5 years ago, and it like totally just hits differently because you see it from a different paradigm because the business has made you into a new person. And I didn't know this, but I was like enjoying that for the first 15 years. And that kind of plateaued. I hadn't like conquered the world in landscaping or anything like that, but the business had plateaued. It was no longer challenging me in that way. So I was uneasy. I was discontent. And I thought, man, maybe I can, I've been to conferences and these guys talk about selling their landscaping company. Maybe I can sell mine. And from the moment I had that idea to the moment I was able to get it acquired was a little over 2 years. So it was very much a push. And I had to reverse engineer a bunch of things into the business to get it ready for sale that I never knew.
Mhm.
And it was kind of a neat way to finish it out because it was a whole new set of challenges and I had actually fallen in love with the business all over again by the time it was ready to be sold. But at that point, I had to create the space for the next thing.
Because you had to set it up so that you weren't handling all those problems, right? I mean, it had to set it up that you could make it easy handoff. And in a way, that's probably what sort of propelled you into the new business is you were figuring out some challenges, things that you were probably dealing with day to day. And you're like, wait a minute, maybe I can automate some of this and make things easier. And
That's exactly right.
yeah, that's interesting. So you sold out, you start fishing or whatever what did you, yeah, you started doing, I don't know, what do you start? It's golfing every day and but you're too young. You're too young to hang it up, right? I mean, you're not like a, NFL player. So what did you, what happened? You retired for a bit and then decided to get back in the game, or what was the next step?
That's it. That is exactly what happened. I sold the business and so now like all of my like all of my money problems were gone. But it was like it was weird. I thought I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant, and in that book he talks about you got somebody who's self-employed, and then you've got an investor, and then you got a business owner, and then in this other quadrant is the one of a capitalist. And I thought, man, that sounds cool. I would like to do that. Just do investments and be in the middle of deals and not have to like schlep to a job every day or manage a bunch of people. And I thought I just want to do that. And so I did that for like almost a year, maybe over 6 months, and it got boring really quick. And I was really discontent with my life at the time because what I didn't understand was that the business was the answer to like if I didn't get out of bed in the morning, why would it matter?
Right.
And if it wasn't for me, then what? If it wasn't for me, X. And like the business was the answer to that question. If it wasn't for me, then like these 100 some odd people wouldn't have a livelihood, and all of my customers wouldn't get service that day. And so that was gone. And so I said, well, I need another mission. I need another project. And I literally, this is like what I thought. I thought, well, the last thing was really hard. That was, running that landscaping business was very challenging, and I don't want to do that again. I want to do something easier but challenging. So I'll start a software company because that'll be so much easier. And boy, I didn't know what I didn't know. But I had this idea that
Yeah. It would
an
be,
app. Yeah, I had. You watch the Social Network. You watch the Social Network, and it's just like the actual building of Facebook was set to like some musical montage or something, and it's like
music,
now we got 1 million users and all the drama sets in. No, it doesn't. If you build it, they will not come.
yeah.
And so but the idea for Green Pal was one that I had for years because I saw every day how disorganized the industry ran and how people would call my office every day begging us to come mow their yard, and we couldn't get to them, and they couldn't find anybody to do it. So I knew there was demand, and then I knew there was supply out there that just couldn't get connected with these people. So I knew the problem was there. I knew the app could solve that. I just didn't know how hard it was going to be to execute on the idea. But recruited 2 co-founders, and we got started on building it, and never looked back. Celebrated very, very small wins in the early days. Like our first goal was 100 customers. That took 2 years. But now here we're a 10-year overnight success. Green Pal has 300,000 people all over the U.S. using the app every day to get lawn mowing.
Wow, that's amazing. It's the first few hundred are hard. I
Oh,
in any business, you know, like your acquisition, to figure out acquisition, how let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, no, early it's kind of irrelevant at this point because you're always spending way more. But what's it like today, acquisition wise? Like for a client, you guys are. I know SEO. I was on the website. It looks like you guys are pretty heavy SEO, which takes a long time. Right? That doesn't happen overnight. What is it? What is the acquisition cost looking for you guys per user?
Yeah, SEO is a lot like dieting. Like you can go to the gym, work your butt off, and not eat any sugar for a week, and then look in the mirror and you look exactly the same.
Exactly
And
same.
it's just
Yeah. 3 years. It's
and for years.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, to your point, SEO is how we get over half of our customers, and the other half just come through word of mouth. So we don't do any paid advertising. We don't do any paid channels. We've experimented with everything under the sun, but for money and effort in and results coming out, organic search is our best ROI. We've never been able to beat it. And while we can't, you pop up a Google AdWords campaign or a Facebook campaign. One of the good things about performance marketing is you can measure it exactly how much each customer is costing you. And that's great. SEO, you can't do that. A lot of it is
Yeah.
faith. A lot of it is just kind of like, I know if I do the right things for a year, eventually it'll pay off. But after you do it for a decade, like we have, you kind of get a sense for it. It's like, okay, should we hire 2 more writers and a content designer, or should we just blow 50 grand on Google AdWords? And it's like, oh, man, I just really feel like we can get better ROI in SEO. And so
Wow. I
that's
don't know if I know anyone in your kind of business that doesn't do paid ads. It's quite an
it's
interesting uh but I see, I mean, listen, what's working. So
yeah,
it's I can't you guys don't do any branded search?
no,
Nothing?
nothing. We've experimented, and to the tune of like, okay, we're gonna throw $10,000 at this one channel and see if we can
Yeah.
unlock it. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're getting customers, but the cost per acquisition is double what we're getting on SEO. Like if we just pumped that money into some better backlinks, some better content, some more PR, because PR is a big part of our SEO strategy.
Yeah.
We're going to get better ROI, like half, like literally half.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, we don't do any branded search. Our competitors, buy keywords against our brand, and I'm sure they pick up some customers that way.
Yeah.
But for us, we just never had. It's always like come at the expense of what we want to do in organic search. Like we're still like there's so much white space. We're still like at day one of where we could be. Even though we're doing pretty good at we're 10 years in and traffic is at a whole time high for us, but there's still so much more like white space where we could go to compete with like an Angie's List or a Home Advisor,
Right.
or a Yelp, and the amount of traffic they're garnering just for free with organic search.
Yeah. Interesting. Really interesting. And I respect somebody that is going probably against the curve, which I'm sure everyone is telling you that you should do it, and you've kind of just said, well, if you're building long term, like SEO and the PRs is definitely a great way to go, and those leads are going to come in a little hotter, direct response, and so it's something I haven't heard, and I was shocked by it, but I'm happy it's working out. Listen, nobody wants to pay Google all the money that they have to every month, so someone that doesn't have to, I take your hat off. It doesn't work for a lot of my businesses, unfortunately. So
if we ever
Google's my
got to a
buddy.
point, where we saw diminishing returns in the one channel we're good at, then we would diversify.
Right.
But I have found for most small businesses, most startups, you're really gonna be damn good at one channel. It's hard to be really good at 4 or 5 different channels at once. And so you throw it all, you go all in on performance, and I mean, you have tuned that thing all the way through the funnel. You can measure every instance of it. Or you go all in on social, or you go all in or on organic, or something like that. It's really hard to be good at 3 or 4 of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I was on your website, really interesting website. I signed up, I went through the process. I was a little surprised in my area that there was only one option, but I was thinking it through and kind of talking a little bit about, who's your like ideal client? Who's like the perfect kind of client for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we first started, we built this website, built this app, and it was like crickets when we launched it. And we had zero users. And we were reading a book called The Lean Startup at the time. And one thing that book tells you is like you got to get out of the building and you've got to go talk to customers. Well, we had no customers.
Yeah,
So we
there's
had to
no
start yeah, there's no one to talk to. And that's what hangs a lot of founders up. It's like, oh, well, I don't have any customers, so I'm going to do all this other BS
yeah.
that doesn't matter, and it's not actually getting customers, and like you waste a year and you never get anywhere. So like out of desperation, I was like, well, we got to get some customers. We're going to take a page out of my former playbook that I did 15 years ago. We're going to pass out door hangers, and we literally like hoofed it all over Nashville, Tennessee, and started passing out. Got some door hangers made up, started passing out door hangers. And so we intuitively, I thought, well, we're going to go to the high end parts of town, your $500,000 $1 million homes. I'm talking Tennessee. This ain't LA. You can get a really nice house for 500 grand.
Right.
And so we did that and passed out 10, 20, 30,000 of these damn things. And I mean, no signups, one or two, and no conversions. It was horrible. And so then we thought, well, we can't. There's no reason to go walk those neighborhoods again. We might as well go to the working class parts of town. Your $100,000, $200,000, 250, dual income households.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just pass out some flyers there and see what happens. Instantly, every 100 flyers we passed out, we got 5 signups.
Wow.
I mean, it was like it wasn't like we were blowing up, but we were getting liquidity. And we started seeing people sign up for this thing. And we were like, damn, I mean, these people make 40 grand a year in the household. Like, why are they buying lawn mowing services? And what I started to understand was like, I grew up, lawn mowing was a luxury, but these days with DoorDash, Instacart, Uber, Amazon same day delivery, people want that convenience of all of the whole economic spectrum. And so we started seeing that. And what was happening was those folks that were only spending $800 a year or $500 a year on lawn mowing weren't getting called back by service providers. They weren't getting the lawn mowed when they needed it. And so we very early were able to understand, okay, this is our target demographic. This is who we need to go after, because there's a never ending like sea of these people that need to be helped. And if we can make it profitable for lawn care services to serve that customer segment, then we can make a marketplace. And that's what we did. And we never looked back. So 90% of the people that use GreenPal are just basic services, don't want to spend a ton of money, aren't looking for a private gardener, your entry level homes and so on. Now we do have some higher end clientele, but it's not the standard use case.
The blow and go kind of that.
That's right.
Right. They want people in and out fast, and they want to be, they want to keep their house in a respectable way. But they're not going over the top with
That's
it.
right. That's right. And kind of like how Uber started in town cars, and then eventually built a worldwide marketplace on Uber X, with your Prius showing up. That's kind of how we evolved. We tried a handful of high-end clients, and we realized no, that we have to be able to sell to the masses. We have to be able to offer this Amazon-like, Uber-like experience for a basic lawn mowing.
Yeah. And the people that have these lawn mowing businesses, why do they need you guys? I mean, I know the answer, but I want to hear why would they need GreenPal? What services do you provide for the businesses in these areas?
Yeah, it's really why we do what we do, because that's me. That's me 20 years ago. Just getting started in the lawn mowing business, I had maybe 10 or 20 customers. I really wanted 100. and I didn't know how to get 100 customers. Do I pass out more flyers? Do I do some, what do I do? Back then that we didn't have the marketing channels that we have today, but even today, like let's say you wanted to start a small business in this industry, how do you get your first 100 customers and not take 5 or 10 years? And so that's the first thing, is matching supply with demand. And it's like, okay, I'm knowing 10 people. I want to do 50. I don't want to pass out a bunch of flyers. I don't know how to fire up a Facebook ad campaign. I don't want to like advertise on Nextdoor or Yelp.
Yeah.
You just go to GreenPal, plug in, and you get your schedule full. The next thing is you wouldn't think it, but like making a living in the lawn mowing industry is really hard, because you have to do the work and then you have to do the work all over again to get paid.
Right.
It's like these poor service providers like get stiffed on like 30% of the work that they're doing out there. Like they forget to invoice, or they flat out.
Yeah. My first house, my wife and I, we had this guy, and he was like referred by the neighbor, and he was so good, but he wouldn't bill us.
Right.
And I was like, I don't like to owe anybody money. It's like one of my so every time I see him, I'm like, please. Oh, my wife's going to do it, this and that. And I'm not joking. This went on for 2 years.
Yeah.
After a year at Christmas, I just threw him some money. I didn't even know what I owed him at that point. And I was so mad. And then he basically, I mean, I paid him some. I don't know exactly what I owed. And then after 2 years, he didn't come for like a month. So I just went and saw somebody else, and because he just wasn't around. Turns out he got hurt and something happened, but like I had no communication. I had no way to. And then he tried to bill me like a year or two after, and I had already moved out of that house. And that was not the first time that I ran into that situation with this type of work, where they literally could not figure out how to, and even some of the guys today, like they're still using paper, and I'm just like, nobody wants to do business this way. I want you to send me an invoice that I could just click and just pay, right? Everybody's trying to get through their day and do all their stuff, and so the automation is really backwards for a lot of people still.
Yeah, that's how 90% of industry still conducts itself. It's like, okay, leave me a check, give me cash. Maybe you might get a Venmo request or something, but that's going to be screwed up. It's going to be for the wrong dates and the wrong number, and so it's like keeping all of that accountable is a big part of what our platform does for buyers and sellers. The thing is, nobody teaches any of us how to run a small business. We're not taught this in school. We're not taught this in college. I mean, so it's like, let's say you want to go into business for yourself. You've never been taught how to do any of these things. And so the only way you learn is to kind of like interact with customers. And then they're kind of like teaching you in a sense, like, hey man, this is kind of what you need to do. I'm expecting an invoice, or I'm expecting you to call me if you don't show up on the day you're supposed to. Yeah. And so it's our platform's job to modulate that whole experience where it just happens smoothly, like it should, almost like a coach for small business owners in this industry, and like a business in a box.
How do you discourage these businesses from trying to do direct relationships with the consumer?
Yeah, it's we call it platform disintermediation, and every platform kind of deals with this to some degree. The first thing we do is we make it dirt cheap. I mean, it's so cheap for them to use this thing. It's only like 5 to 10% of the revenue they get. So that's the first thing. If we were taking 30 or 40%, they would have incentive to do it to do it offline. The next thing is if we don't drive them enough business, we've calculated kind of the tipping point is around 20 customers per week. And if we can't get them that many, then GreenPal is kind of like a
20 new customers per week.
Now you get customers, and then you need to be there every week or two for the whole season. So it's like we get you 20 or 30 new customers in March. That's that you got to be there every week. And so most solo operators can only do 80 or 90 a week. Now you've got somebody mowing 80 or 90 yards a week by themselves. Guess what? Dude, they make like 150, 200 grand. There's lawn guys that are making more than lawyers, guys that are cutting grass. Yeah. And it's
Guy that is just pumping it,
yeah,
working, he's making 100, he could make 150, 200,000
yes.
straight blow and go, not even
Yes.
getting to. And I have a question. Well, by the way,
And take 3 months off a year.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
That's why we do what we do. I
That's real
think
money. That's
there's
real
gonna
money.
yeah. And there's gonna be a reversion, I think, to like all of these like surplus elites and surplus white collar people that we have like floating in these jobs they're going to get eviscerated by AI. There's going to be a reversion to the trades. You're going to see a lot more people mowing yards, fixing leaky pipes, pressure washing driveways, cleaning pools, things like that because these trades are more lucrative than most white collar jobs.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's just it's inspiring and insane at the same time.
Well, they were saying, I saw the statistic about construction workers that for every 7 that retire or quit or whatever in construction, only 1 replaces them right now, which is really a big statistic. And
Yeah.
also the age of an average construction worker used to be 32 about 10, 15 years ago. Now it's 42. So you're seeing a big shift in the trades where like, I hope there is a reversion eventually, but
Yeah,
it's still, there's a big gap. There's a lot of, I have friends tell me, oh, the construction, you can't, it's like, well, it's just not an area that a lot of people want to go into yet, but eventually that's
yeah, they have to.
they have to.
They have to. They're going to have to.
It's hard to find someone that does good work. And I think the cool thing about your app and your website, and I went through it today to just kind of test it out. It's very user friendly to get in there and sort of navigate. And it tells me all the things, and I'm sure this is just trial and error, which is, what you're doing. I'm sure you've looked at this website 4 million times. Is that like, you get in there and, whoever the options are, you see it, picture of the owner, which is really cool. And then some of their work, really thought out, really thoughtful, I think. And then the reviews, those are the big things, right? You want to see the work, you want to see the person, you want to see the reviews. I think you kind of just put it out there. Like, these are all the questions that a person's going to have, right? Is that the premise behind how you built the website or how you got to that point?
I think no matter what you're doing, you have to try to match the internal conversations going on in your customer's head,
right,
as they're interacting with your product. And the only reason we got to where we are today is by, first off, listening to our customers and trying to understand what their objections are and what they're confused by. Even to this day, even though we power millions of transactions per year in the lawn mowing industry, I still do an hour or 2 a day of customer support. Literally, me answering the phone, me answering email tickets, me doing live chat. Because there's a weird gap that forms between the founder and the customer. And like there's founder logic and there's customer logic. And they're both looking at like what the business does from 2 different worlds almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the only way to close that gap is to like interact with your customers on a daily basis.
Right.
What are they confused by? And so, to your point, it's like, oh yeah, I was able to read reviews and I was able to see what they looked like, see if they were a real person, and I was able to see how often they show up on time, and I was able to see, how often they get booked for a second or third mowing. And it's like all of that came from customers. Hey, I'm looking at my bids, and how do I know this guy's going to show up?
Right,
right. That was a conversation literally 10 times a day in year 1. It's like, well, we should probably create a data point around that. And so we've literally never been at a loss for what the most important 2 or 3 things to build have been, because our customer feedback has always been free R&D. And that's how we got there.
Yeah. So Brian, you're, someone that started a business, sold it in your 30s, no software background, no technical background. Give me some quick stats on the business. I mean, I know there's some on the website that I saw that my eyes, one of them was the 700,000 reviews on Trustpilot or some whatever, 750,000. Can you give me some of the numbers? How many lawns, how many people you guys are servicing, just, for the numbers geeks out there.
Yeah.
They're going to watch this.
Yeah, 300,000 people using it on an ongoing basis, millions of transactions per year, 32,000 contractors using it to run their business. So it's like, if I don't do it, I mean, that's why I do what I do. Like, that's why I have to stay all in on this business, because there's 32,000 people who their livelihood depends on us making the right decisions, us being able to get them new customers, us being able to make everybody's life a little easier. And if we screw that up, we're screwing that up for all of these people who depend on us. And so we take that seriously.
Right.
But the thing is, it's still day one. I mean, it's a $99 billion industry. You wouldn't think it's that big, but it's like almost $100 billion is what lawn and landscaping is in the United States. And we're doing like 30 million of it. And so we got a long way to go. There's a lot of white space. So we're just going to keep focusing on this one use case, this one industry.
Well, it sounds like you're still enjoying it. Well, that's the most important part. And you're involved and you're passionate about it. The multi-million dollar question, are you going to do another exit, you think, or is that on the table, or are you running this thing for a while? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I am having fun. I made a decision when I sold my first company that no matter what, from that day forward, I was just going to do what it is I wanted to do. And I've had some 100-hour weeks building this business, but I haven't worked a day in 10 years. It's always been what I wanted to do. And so I'm just going to keep doing it as long as I'm decently good at it and I'm having fun. And I'm passionate about it. Like, I have a fire in my belly for this business. I once went to a conference and just talking to this guy. Oh, what do you do? Okay, I run this platform that makes lawn care as easy as ordering an Uber. And I'm like, what do you? And I'm like, what do you do? And he says, well, if you ever been to a bathroom where there's mouthwash in the bathroom? I was like, yeah, those. I wish all bathrooms had mouthwash. It's kind of cool. He goes, yeah, well, I invented and hold the patent on the dispenser for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? That's cool. And he's like, yeah. And I can't remember. He's like, yeah, we do like, like $100 million a year in sales or something. I was like, God damn. I'm like, that's crazy. And then he keeps going. And I'm like, this dude had like super passion for mouthwash. He was like more passionate about mouthwash than most people are about anything. And so like, that was inspiring to me. Like, if this dude is like super passionate about mouthwash, then I'm going to stay enthusiastic for however long I gotta be about lawn care.
No, it makes sense. My staff's really happy when I'm enthusiastic about mouthwash also, because they don't want to get too close. No, it's so interesting. So it sounds like if there's a 9-figure offer on the table, maybe there could be a little,
never say never, but man, I'm having fun. And I don't know. I've tried to quit once already. I don't know what I would do. I tried to lay on a beach, and it just didn't last long.
My dad works for one of my companies, and he talks to people, and he was a garment manufacturer many years. And my joke is, he's almost 80, and he's a bad golfer. He doesn't have any.
Yeah.
It's like it's exciting for him to get up and have, like, has something that's drives him, and
yeah.
I don't think retirement's for everybody. Well, Green Pal is a very interesting business, easy to use, lots of great reviews. In essence, a marketing engine for lawn care businesses, whether they're starting or maybe trying to expand into a new market. And then also for people that are looking for the service, that have had a ghost experience like myself, where you go out on Tuesday and you go, hey, where are those guys? And they don't show up, and you just say, like, I want my house to look nice and tidy and neat. And I know it's on the website, they can do more. They could, if they want, they could do more, pull weeds, and they can do a bunch of different things there. but in essence, you know, it connects these people in an easy way. And you know, obviously the business is growing, and so I commend you on a really cool idea. And I think it's a win-win on both sides, which is really nice to see a business where consumers are happy and you know, business owners are growing. And as you said, there's a reversion happening. People are going back into these businesses where they're actually doing work. You know, they're moving away from a lot of these middle management type of jobs. This is where the world's kind of going. So I appreciate having you on. Really cool business, and you know, love to, you know, in the future talk again and you know, pick your brain some more. And but thanks for coming on. And Self-Made Millionaire Tips, Brian Clayton, Green Pal, great business. Check it out. And thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. Great conversation.